Most people over 60 are told the same thing when their blood sugar creeps up. Just cut out the sugar. It sounds sensible, it sounds safe. But here is what nobody tells you. Cutting sugar alone does not protect your independence, because sugar in the bowl was never the whole problem. The bigger problem is how fast everything you eat turns into sugar inside you. Endocrinology clinics see this every single day. A person gives up desserts, gives up their evening cookie, and their morning number barely moves. They feel cheated, and honestly, they were told only half the story. So today, I'm going to give you 5 everyday foods that steady blood sugar better than cutting sugar ever could on its own. And I am going to give you the one insight most 12-minute appointments never have time to explain. The number 1 food on this list is something almost nobody talks about in this context. Stay with me until the end, because that one can change how you approach the next 10 years of your health. Here is why your doctor may never have walked you through this. A standard appointment is about 12 minutes. In those minutes, there is time to check a number, adjust a prescription, and say a few words. There is almost never time to teach you how food behaves once it is inside your body, so you get the short version. Eat less sugar, watch your weight, keep walking. All good advice, none of it wrong, but none of it the full picture either. I am not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. This channel exists to give you the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover, because this is not really about dessert. It is about staying steady on your feet, keeping your energy through the afternoon, and not feeling that shaky, foggy crash that makes you sit down and wait. Independence lives or dies on steady energy. If your morning fasting number has been climbing, tell me in the comments what it was this week and where you are watching from. So let me give you the one mechanism behind all 5 of these foods. When you eat, food becomes glucose, and glucose enters your blood. Think of your bloodstream as a calm river, and glucose as delivery boats arriving at the dock. A little sugar is a few boats, but fast starches send 100 boats at once. Please do not skip this section. It is the key to everything that follows. When too many boats arrive at once, the river floods, and your body scrambles to clear it. The trick is not to ban the boats. The trick is to slow them down so they arrive a few at a time. Every food on this list slows the boats. Fiber slows them. Fat slows them. Acid slows them. That is the whole secret. If this is already making sense to you, tap the like button so more seniors can find it. Number 5 on our list is ground cinnamon. Real cinnamon. The ordinary spice already in your cupboard. Here is how it works. Cinnamon appears to help your cells respond to insulin a little more readily, which means glucose gets waved out of the river faster instead of piling up at the dock. Think of it as the dock worker who moves a bit quicker, so the boats do not sit and jam. It will not empty the river by itself, but it nudges the whole system in the right direction with almost no effort. Large clinical reviews have consistently found small but real improvements in fasting glucose when cinnamon is used regularly. Now the protocol and the numbers matter. Aim for about half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon per day, not more. 1 teaspoon, not 1 tablespoon. Stir it into oatmeal, plain yogurt, or your coffee once a day, most days of the week. Give it a few weeks, because this is a gentle nudge, not a switch. The common mistake is dumping in a huge amount and expecting a miracle by tomorrow. More is not better here. It is just harder on your stomach. If cinnamon is new to you, start with a 1/4 teaspoon and sit down while you notice how your stomach feels. Stop if you get any heartburn or mouth irritation. That means ease off, not push through. And if you take any prescription blood sugar medication, talk to your doctor before adding daily cinnamon, because together they can lower sugar more than expected. Pair it with your morning protein, a couple of eggs or Greek yogurt, because protein plus cinnamon slows those breakfast boats far more than either does alone. The protein steadies the meal, and the cinnamon helps clear what does arrive, so the two together are far calmer than either one on its own. But cinnamon only fine-tunes a system that is already fairly steady. It cannot hold back a genuine flood of fast starch on its own. For that you need something that physically thickens the river itself, and that is exactly what our next food does. Number 4 is chia seeds. These tiny gray seeds do something remarkable the moment they meet liquid. They swell and form a soft gel. Picture dropping that gel into your river. Suddenly the water is thicker, and the delivery boats can only inch forward instead of racing to the dock. That is soluble fiber at work, and chia is loaded with it. When your meal is wrapped in that gel, glucose is released slowly, over a longer time, so you get a gentle rise instead of a spike and crash. Research on soluble fiber consistently shows flatter blood sugar curves after meals. Here is the protocol. Start with 1 tablespoon of chia seeds per day and build to 2 tablespoons. Always soak them first in about half a cup of water, milk, or yogurt for at least 15 to 20 minutes until they form that gel. Have it before or alongside a meal, once a day. The mistake people make is eating them dry and skimping on water, which can leave you bloated or uncomfortable. So the rule is simple. Chia always goes in with plenty of liquid, never dry. If swallowing texture is hard for you, stir the soaked chia into a smoothie or oatmeal so it disappears completely, and sip water alongside. Stop and check with your doctor if you have trouble swallowing or a history of narrowing in the gut, because gel-forming seeds are not right for everyone. Pair chia with your cinnamon oatmeal from a moment ago, and you now have fiber and insulin support in one bowl. That single breakfast is slowing the boats 2 different ways at once, which is exactly the stacking we are after. Now, thickening the river is good, but what if you could change the boats themselves, so fewer of them ever launch? That is the strange and wonderful trick our next food pulls off. Number 3 is not a new food at all. It is cooked and cooled starch. The same potatoes, the same rice, the same pasta you already eat, but cooked, then chilled in the refrigerator for at least several hours, ideally overnight. Something changes when starch cools. Part of it reorganizes into what scientists call resistant starch. Here is the picture. Normally your potato is a fleet of fast boats, launching glucose the moment it hits the river. But cooling turns a good share of those boats into cargo your body simply cannot unload in the small intestine. They float straight past the dock, down to your gut bacteria, feeding them instead of flooding you. Studies on resistant starch show meaningfully lower blood sugar responses compared to the same food eaten hot and fresh. Now the protocol, and this is easier than it sounds. Cook your potatoes, rice, or pasta as usual, then refrigerate them for at least 12 hours before eating. You can eat them cold in a potato salad or rice salad, or gently reheat them because the resistant starch mostly survives warming. Aim to make about half your starch servings the cooked and cooled kind. The common mistake is thinking you must eat everything cold. You do not. A gentle reheat is fine. Keep the portion sensible, about 1 cupped handful of the starch, not a mountain. If chewing cold firm potato is hard, mash the cooled potato with a little olive oil, which keeps it soft and adds fat that slows things further. And food safety matters at our age, so cool it quickly, keep it covered in the fridge, and use it within about 3 days, no longer. Pair your cooled starch with a splash of vinegar dressing. The acid and the resistant starch each slow the boats by a different route, so together they flatten the curve more than either does alone. That is 2 mechanisms working on one plate for almost no extra effort. And that mention of acid is your perfect bridge, because our next food is acid in its most direct and studied form. Number 2 is apple cider vinegar, plain ordinary vinegar, taken correctly and safely. Here is the mechanism. Acid slows how fast your stomach empties, and it appears to slow the enzymes that break starch into sugar. So the boats are released from the harbor more slowly, and the river stays calm. It is one of the simplest, most studied tricks in this whole area. Controlled studies have repeatedly shown lower post-meal glucose when a little vinegar is taken before a starchy meal. Here is the protocol, and safety is everything with vinegar. Take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, never more, diluted in a full large glass of water before a carbohydrate-rich meal, up to once or twice a day. 1 tablespoon in a big glass of water, not straight, never undiluted. Straight vinegar can burn your throat and erode your teeth, so dilution is not optional. Sip it, do not shoot it, and rinse with plain water afterward to protect your teeth. The mistake people make is drinking it neat or using far too much, thinking stronger is better. It is not. It is just harmful. If plain vinegar water is unpleasant, use it as a salad dressing with olive oil instead. The effect is the same. Stop and speak to your doctor first if you have acid reflux, ulcers, or take medication for blood sugar or potassium, because vinegar is not safe for every stomach. Pair it with that cooled starch salad, and you have stacked 2 mechanisms in one plate. The vinegar slows the harbor while the resistant starch quietly removes boats from the fleet, so the meal lands softer than either trick alone. Now every food so far slows the boats or thins the fleet, but there is one everyday food that does all of it at once, the deepest lever of them all, and it is the one almost nobody puts at the top of the list. Number 1, the crown of this entire list, is legumes. Lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, the humble dried beans your grandmother kept in a jar. If you take only one food from this video, let it be this one. Here is why legumes sit at the very top, and why they beat cutting sugar so completely. Every other food on this list pulls one lever. Legumes pull all of them at the same time. They are rich in soluble fiber, so they thicken the river like Chia. They are slow, dense starch, so their boats launch gently, not all at once. And they carry real protein, which further steadies the whole meal. Picture legumes as boats that are heavy, well-spaced, and slow by nature, drifting to the dock one at a time over hours instead of arriving in a rush. On top of that, like resistant starch, a good share of their carbohydrate feeds your gut bacteria instead of flooding your blood. That is 4 calming effects in a single, inexpensive food. Large, long-running studies have consistently linked regular legume eating with steadier blood sugar and better long-term glucose control. This is about as close to a sure thing as nutrition science offers. Now the protocol, in full, because this is the one to get right. Aim for about half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of cooked legumes, most days of the week. That is a realistic, gentle target, not a mountain on your plate. Canned beans are perfectly fine. Just drain and rinse them well to cut the sodium. Warm them into soups, stews, or simply spoon them beside whatever you already eat. Build up slowly, and here is the key mistake to avoid. If you rarely eat beans now, jumping to a big bowl overnight will leave you gassy and uncomfortable, and you will quit. So start with just 2 or 3 tablespoons and rise over 2 to 3 weeks as your body adjusts. Drink water alongside and give it time. If beans are hard to chew or digest, choose red lentils or well-cooked, mashed beans, or blend them smooth into a soup, which is gentle on an older stomach and still delivers everything. If you take blood sugar medication, talk to your doctor, because legumes this regularly can lower your numbers enough that your dose may need review. Pair them with a little olive oil and a splash of that vinegar. The fat slows the boats further, and the acid calms the harbor, so all 3 work on one plate at once. This is why legumes are not just another item on the list. They are the plate the whole list was building toward, and this is the payoff I promised you at the very beginning. The reason this food matters more than giving up sugar is simple. Cutting sugar only removes a few boats. Legumes calm the entire river, every meal, for pennies, for the rest of your life. That is the difference between chasing one problem and steadying the whole system. Consider a typical case documented in the nutrition and rehabilitation literature. A 74-year-old woman had watched her fasting blood sugar climb for 2 years, even though she had already given up sweets and felt she was doing everything right. She was frustrated, tired by mid-afternoon, and afraid of where things were heading. Her routine changed in small ways. Cinnamon in her morning oatmeal with soaked chia, a cooled potato salad with a vinegar and olive oil dressing at lunch, and a half cup of lentils added to her dinner most nights. Nothing was banned, nothing was dramatic. Food was added rather than taken away. Over about 12 weeks, her fasting numbers drifted meaningfully downward, and her doctor was pleased enough to keep the approach going. Her afternoon energy came back. She stopped needing to sit and wait out the foggy crashes. That is what steadying the river looks like in a real life. So let me give you your action matrix, simple and doable. Do these in order, and let each one become a habit before you lean on the next. Tonight, set out 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and 1 tablespoon of chia beside your bowl, so tomorrow's breakfast is ready before you are even awake. Soaking the chia in half a cup of liquid tonight means it is a soft gel by morning. This week, cook 1 batch of potatoes or rice and chill it for at least 12 hours, so 1 portion of cooled, resistant starch is always waiting in the fridge. Aim for 1 cupped handful of it per meal, no more. Starting today, dilute 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a large full glass of water and sip it before your main starchy meal, once or twice a day. Remember, 1 tablespoon diluted, never neat. This month, add half a cup of cooked legumes to your plate most days. starting at just 2 or 3 tablespoons and rising over 2 to 3 weeks, so your stomach stays comfortable. And every single day, hold on to the one rule that ties all 5 together: slow the boats. Do not just count the sugar cubes. 5 steps, each small, each stacking on the last, and not one of them asks you to give up a food you love. Think of someone in your life who has been cutting sugar and getting nowhere. A parent, a partner, a neighbor, someone who did the hard part and still felt let down by the results. Send them this video, because it may be the missing half of the story they were never told. If your fasting number has been creeping up and you are not sure where to start, tell me in the comments which of these 5 foods you are trying first. Your answers decide exactly what I cover next. And if you want the science your appointment never has time for, subscribe to this channel, because steadier seniors are stronger seniors. This video is education, not a diagnosis. Your own doctor knows your history, so bring this list to your next appointment. I'm Nathan Reeves. Don't forget to subscribe and live longer.